Hello students, how are you all? Welcome to our YouTube channel Sanjay with Hadoi. This is Meghna Madan and today we will be covering our class 6 chapter number 5 of science, that is separation of substances. But before starting my video, I request you all to subscribe our channel and press the bell icon for further notification, and do not forget to like and share my video if you like it. So, as I've already told you that our chapter number 5, separation of substances, we are going to start today. In this chapter, we will study about how and why this separation of substances is done. Look. So, in the first, we will start about the mixtures and pure substances. So, what are pure substances and what are mixtures? If a substance contains only one type of atoms or molecules, we call it as pure substances. And if the two substances are combined together, we call it as mixture. Like as you are seeing in this picture, we have the two pure substances, that is sugar and water, and when they are combined together we have the mixture. Now students, do you know that this mixture can be in any form? It can be solid, liquid or gas, and most of the substances around us are mixtures of two or more elements. Like your tap water and seawater has several salts dissolved in water. Your air is also a mixture of several gases such as carbon dioxide, oxygen, nitrogen, water vapors are all in your atmosphere. Like your milk is also a mixture of water, cream and other things. So mixture can be in any form. So students, now we will study about why is separation necessary, why we need to separate these substances, what is the reason behind that. So the first is to remove the undesirable constituents. Okay, so in this, as you know, the small stones are present in the rice or the pulses we eat. So it is compulsory to remove those stones and those dust particles before eating them. Now the second is to obtain the useful components or constituents. Sometimes this mixture, it cannot be used directly. Like your petroleum is a mixture of several useful constituents. So the petrol, kerosene, diesels are to be separated from these petroleum oil to be used as fuel in vehicles and at home. Now the third is to obtain the pure substances. Sometimes the substances in their pure form is needed by us at our home or for the research work. So it is necessary to obtain pure substances out of it. Now let us study about the methods of separation. The methods of separation are the ways or the process through which the separation of substances is done, and all those processes are categorized into 4 categories. The first is separating solids from other solids, separating insoluble solids from liquids. Third is separating soluble solids from liquids, and the fourth is the separating of to liquids. And all these separation depends upon the physical property of that substances, like what its color, size, shape, weight or solubility in a liquid. Now let us start with the first category, separating solids from other solids. Now our first process in this category is the threshing. What is threshing, students? Threshing is basically when the wheat or the rice crop is harvested, the grains have to be separated. The first step is to separate the grains from the stalks, and this process is known as threshing. Under this process, a bundle of stalk is prepared by a farmer and is beaten on a ground or a hard surface to get the mixture of grain and chaff. Now what is chaff? Chaff is the outer covers of the grains. Now for the separation of these grains and the chaff is done by winnowing. In this process In this process, a mixture is allowed to fall from a height and the breeze blows away the chaff while the grain falls down vertically in front of the farmer. As you are seeing in this picture, a mixture of a grain and husk, or we say broken chaff, is allowed to fall from a height, and the chaff being lighter is blown away by the wind, whereas grains falls vertically just in front of a farmer. Now the third process in our category is the hand picking. Hand picking means to take out by hand. The method of hand picking is usually used to separate the undesirable substances such as the small stones and insects and other harmful substances from the wheat, rice and pulses. And the fourth process in this category is sieving. What is sieving? The method of separating a mixture by using a sieve is called sieving. Sieving is mostly used to separate those solid mixtures which have the different components of different sizes. Like you have seen your mother sieving a flour to remove the particles of flour before making the dough for chapatis. Now let's come to our second category, that is separating insoluble solids from liquids. What is insoluble solids, students? Insoluble solids are those, students, which does not dissolve in water. So in this process, in this category, the first process is sedimentation and decantation. What is sedimentation and decantation? The sedimentation is a process in which the heavier particles of insoluble solids, means the non-dissolving solids, settle down in a liquid, and that particles that settle down is called the sediments. Now what is decantation? Same, the decantation is the process of pouring out the liquid without disturbing the sediment that was settled in the process of sedimentation. And the process of decantation is also used in our daily life. Like you have seen, when rice or pulses are washed with water before cooking, then water is separated from them by the process of decantation. Now coming to the next process of this category is loading. Now what is loading? A loading is a process in which the elute particles are deposited on suspended clay particles of muddy water to make them heavy and settle down rapidly. It is basically done to speed up the process of sedimentation. Now, next process in this category is the filtration. What is filtration? It is a process of removing insoluble solids from a liquid by using a filter paper. In this, a mixture of insoluble solid and liquid is poured into a filter paper that is fixed in a funnel, and the liquid passes through the filter paper and collects in the beaker kept below the funnel, whereas the solid particles do not pass through the filter paper and remain behind on the filter paper. Like the mixture of chalk and water is also separated by the process of filtration. Now coming to the third category, it is the separating soluble solids from liquid, means the solids that can be dissolved in water. In this, the first process is evaporation. What is evaporation? The changing of liquid into vapors or gas is called evaporation. Like you are seeing in this picture, in a kettle, a solution of common salt and water is taken in a kettle and heated gently under a burner. The water present in salt solution will form water vapors and escape into the atmosphere, whereas the common salt is left behind in the kettle. And followed by evaporation, the other process is also done, that is the condensation. What is condensation? The converting of water vapors back into the liquid on cooling is called condensation. And when both the evaporation and condensation is done side by side, we call it as distillation. Mostly the distillation process is done when we have to recover both the salt as well as water from the salt water mixture solution. The process of distillation is used. Now coming to the fourth category of our chapter, that is separating of two liquids when the both are in liquid form. First is miscible liquids, that means the liquids that can be dissolved into each other. Two miscible liquids that have different boiling points, for example the water and alcohol, can be separated by the process of fractional distillation. Now, wherein the liquid are immiscible, that means that cannot be dissolved into each other, can be separated by using a separating funnel, in which it has a stopper which can be used to drain out the liquid that is at the bottom. Now, I hope you have understood all the categories and the processes related to it, that how the separation of substances is done. Now let us study about solubility. What is solubility? The maximum amount of solute that can be dissolved in a given amount of solvent is called solubility. Like the salt and water together form a solution of salt in water, wherein the water here is called a solvent and the salt, the substance that dissolves in water, is called a solute. So a solvent and a solute together form a solution. Now students, what is saturated solution? A solution in which no more substance can be dissolved at that temperature is called saturated solution. So now we will study why water is called as a universal solvent. It is because of its property of dissolving a large number of substances that water is so essential for life. Like our body cannot absorb food substances unless they are soluble in water, while plants can absorb nutrients from the soil only if they are soluble in water. And in case of gases such as oxygen and carbon dioxide, which are soluble in water, are important for the survival of aquatic life. This is because of the chemical composition and the physical attributes that make it such an excellent solvent. So students, I hope now you have studied about the different methods of separation, the solubility, and why water is known as the universal solvent. So let's take some of the activity. The first activity is in the form of fill in the blanks. The first is stones can be separated from pulses by which process? By the process of hand picking. So the next is the method of separating seeds from paddy, we say rice, from stalks is called threshing. And the third is the mixture of chalk powder and water is separated by which process? As they are insoluble in water, it is separated by the process of filtration. And the fourth fill up is the process of heating a liquid to form water vapor is called evaporation. Now our next activity is the type of one word answer. The first question is, name the process of settling down particles of a solid in a liquid. That process is known as sedimentation. Now the question number 2 is, which separation method is used to separate wheat grains from its chaff? Do you know students? It is winnowing. The winnowing is a process in which the wheat grains are separated from its chaff. And the last question, question number 3 is, name a commonly used chemical for loading process. Which chemical process is used to speed up the sedimentation process or to do loading process? That is alum. So students, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you.